the hand I saw from the sky. Cameras tell the truth until someone asks them to be polite. That's the first thing you learn in surveillance. The second is that the truth looks different from above. My name is Nick, 35, shift manager in the eye in the sky of the Paragon, a casino that smells like citrus, carpet glue, and decisions people will explain to their accountants. I run 10,000 lenses from a dark room that pretends to be a chapel. Dealers shuffle. Players perform belief. I log everything, and I try not to become a story. On the Friday this started, the Strip wore a thunderstorm like a gossip. High rollers had flown in for a charity gala with the kind of donors who prefer chips to checks. Our whales came with entourages and aliases. One of them was Evan Rourke, a tech boy genied into a man, jawline, trainer, portfolio that throws its own light. He was here with a wife in a white dress the exact temperature of forgiveness, and a consultant named Danny whose job seemed to be the same as gravity. Marketing sent me a heads-up before they sent him champagne. Sloan, director of player development, measured smile, eyes like a locked screen, appeared in my doorway with a lanyard and a favor. High Limit Salon wants privacy at 1, she said. Dead corners are bad for video, but they're good for celebrities. We'll comp the pit a raise. We don't have dead corners, I said. We can simulate dusk, she said. Dimmable zone, low-angle shot, technical adjustment, hospitality. Gaming doesn't like dusk, I said. Gaming likes noon at midnight. She leaned against the console and watched 3 tables at once without pretending to know the game. That's what I like about Sloan. She doesn't cosplay expertise. She brokers desire and leaves the math to people who choose ulcers. You're careful, she said. I'm employed, I said. She smiled without moving her mouth. Make it look like service, not surrender. We'll owe you one. At 00:47, the high-limit salon filled with money-wearing linen. Rourke played baccarat like a man showing off a rented horse. Danny stood behind him, a whisper at his shoulder, eyes on the discard tray, mouth on nothing. Julia, the wife, sat at the back banquette with 2 women who laughed like they'd been promised good stories. Sloan drifted between them, the weather that makes tips fall. From above, hands are choreography. At 01:03, Danny's fingers brushed Rourke's shoulder 3 times in quick succession, the kind of tap that could be a flirt or a code. I pulled the feed tighter. The dealer pitched clean. The shoe was standard, but Danny's other hand hung at her side, thumb pressing her ring finger as the banker drew. A lot of advantage play is theater. The house wins on boredom. This wasn't counting, it was rhythm. Camera 6, I said to my operator. Zoom on discard, see if she rides the edge. He rode it. The cards kissed the felt in a way a certain school of cheaters like. Tiny bend when the pips hit, barely enough to nick memory. It wasn't edge sorting exactly. It was attitude. You learn to smell appetite from a floor above. Should we tap the pit? My op asked. Not yet, I said. Watch the cage. At 01:21, Rourke won a hand he shouldn't have by the math and lost the next 2 as if to apologize. Sloan stood behind his chair, eyes not on the table, but on Danny's reflection in the mirror behind the bar. That's when my other monitor chirped. A marker request pushed to the cage from Rourke's account, backed by a company that donates to people who write laws. The note on the request made my stomach turn in a way I save for seafood buffets. Convert leftovers to check, gaming winnings. We don't launder at the Paragon. We wash linens, not money. But the thin line between complicated and illegal sometimes wears makeup at 1 a.m. Nick, Sloan said softly into my desk phone without turning her head toward a camera. She has a way of sounding like she's in the chair next to you, even when she's 3 floors down. We need to go to dusk. We need to go to noon, I said. Tell your pit to hold the marker until I bless it. She didn't argue. That's another thing about Sloane. She doesn't waste breath trying to change gravity in a weather pattern she didn't pick. She changes the room. At 01:34, I walked the balcony over the salon, checking house lights, pretending to do what my badge asked while doing the other part my face can't admit, measuring people. From up there, Danny's profile looked like a decision. Julia excused herself and took the corridor toward the villas with a gait that felt like loyalty and fatigue. Sloane peeled off a step later, as if she'd been assigned to escort feelings safely between doors. The camera in the corridor winked and remembered. Marketing calls that hallway blue, soft paint, deco sconces, sound that forgives. We don't dim blue, we archive it. Sloane caught up to Julia just past the sconce with the tiny hairline crack you only notice if you love glass. She put a hand on Julia's shoulder. Julia turned. We don't mic hallways. I'm good, not omnipotent. But you don't need audio when two faces tell you the story. The older one doing recognition like muscle memory, the younger one doing mercy like a second language. Sloane didn't touch her again until Julia's palm landed flat on Sloane's sternum, gentle, two fingers pressing as if to test a door. If I were writing poetry in a surveillance log, I'd call that the exact moment a marriage realized it had an audience. Back in the sky, I took the salon to service dusk, not blind but forgiving. The table underlit softly. The ceiling cams fed to an off-site recorder I pay for out of a petty cash account called calibration, because no one reads line items when the carpet keeps its promises. Insurance loves redundancy. So do cowards. So do men who are a little in love with women they shouldn't be. At 02:03, the cage pinged again. Sloane, need approval, Rourke marker, expedite. I replied with a timestamp and 3 letters that always look less aggressive in blinking green. Hold. She sent a second message to my personal, a number she shouldn't have. Still careful. I typed back still. At 02:12, Danny did something that made my operator curse under his breath. A subtle palm under the rail, a hand-to-hair move, a tap on Rourke's jacket cuff, signal soup, new recipe. He bet bank heavy. The dealer burned one. Rourke took it. Natural. He laughed like a man who has been right all his life. Pitt is blind, my op said. Pitt is tired, I said. Pitt is also on camera. I tapped the internal. Table 3, pause after next hand for procedural. Security to Pitt for a friendly chat about card pitch height. They did the song and dance. The dealer measured. The inspector nodded. Danny's mouth did a polite smirk because that's what people do when they think the rules are a performance they've already paid for. At 02:30, Sloane came into the eye in the sky through the back door. She's one of the few marketing execs who understands our room is not a tourist attraction. She stood behind my chair, quiet, clocking feeds without asking the obvious questions. Her perfume did arithmetic. I didn't look up. You give someone like Sloane eye contact and they'll own it. Say what you came to say, I said. You're right about the marker, she said, which is a sentence that can buy me weeks of goodwill. But you can't teach a lesson with a gala on property. Watch me, I said. I'm using show and tell. She leaned closer, a heat with edges. I'm not here to fight you. I'm here to ask for an hour in the kind of privacy that doesn't bite us later. For who? I asked. For Julia, she said. She's about to learn a shape of the story she already knows. She can do it on our terms or in a strip of photographs tomorrow. Give me blue for 10 minutes. Put a fig leaf on the lenses. Keep the hallway honest and the archive intact. Just don't make it feel like noon. You want me to dim a hallway so a woman can choose a sentence. I want you to dim a hallway so a woman can choose herself, she said, voice a shade above a whisper. I looked up then because I am a man and I wanted proof she understood I could be bribed by sincerity. She pressed 2 fingers lightly to my chest. Still there. Still, I said. Good, she said. Because if we're going to be decent, we need a witness who isn't pretending he's a saint. At 02:52, I slid blue down 2 clicks. Not off, never off. Just softer. Julia came back before 3, eyes dry, spine taller. Sloane walked half a step behind, an escort of 1. They didn't touch. My chest felt like it had carried a box down a flight of stairs and wasn't sure if it should be proud or apologize. Now the other half of the night, Rourke's winnings. At 03:07 the cage sent. Marker clearance requested, convert to check. I sent back, denied, verify play. Then I did the thing that would get me fired if a certain kind of man ever controlled my badge. I exported a copy of the overhead feed from table 3 to a secure drive, tagged it with a file name that means nothing, filter profile 6B, mauve, and attached a note for gaming control with 5 verbs and no adjectives. We don't blind regulators. We keep them caffeinated and grateful. At 03:15 I went to the floor. It's frowned on for surveillance to become corporeal, but sometimes you have to let gravity remember your name. Sloane saw me first. You're going to make me blame you, she said. I'm going to make you thank me next quarter, I said. We approached the pit together. Rourke had that good loser face on, the one men put on when they think the narrative needs a twist. Danny watched me with a curiosity that tasted like a dare. Marker isn't clearing, she said lightly. Marker is fine, I said. Conversion to check is not. House policy during charitable events keeps donors honest, keeps us pretty. Cash out in chips or settle the marker through normal channels in the morning. I'm normal channels, she said. Your weather, I said, and tonight we're indoors. Rourke smiled, calculated. You don't know who I am, he said. I don't, I said, but the camera does. She's meaner than me. It could have gone bad. He could have played the owner card. He could have called my GM on a yacht at 3 a.m. and said a noun that rhymes with fire. Instead, he looked at his wife, who had appeared silently at his elbow, barefoot again, eyes clear. She didn't say no. She didn't say anything. He looked back at me, then at the chips, then at Danny. Tomorrow, then, he said, smiling the smile of a man who would make a list. They left. Danny lingered just long enough to tell me with her mouth that I was amusing, and with her eyes that I had acquired an enemy who wears silk. Sloane waited until the room exhaled. You made a call, she said. I documented one, I said, off-site. She tilted her head. Insurance loves you, she said. At least somebody does, I said. She didn't laugh. She looked toward Blue. Julia was leaning against the sconce with the hairline crack, eyes closed, breathing like someone who had set down a bag. Sloane stood there longer than her job needed, watching the hallway as if it could get ideas and needed supervision. When my shift ended at 7, the storm had dragged its feet to the desert's edge and decided to be history. I sent the package to gaming with a cover note a lawyer would call ascetic. I wrote the internal report with words that don't turn into lawsuits. I cleared the technical adjustment from the salon and set the house lights to noon. I sat in my car long enough for the dashboard to admit it was tired. Sloane texted at 09:12, breakfast or penance. Both, I sent. We met at a hotel coffee shop that hides its ambition behind plants. She ordered black coffee and a glass of water like a woman who had made a decision about sugar at 19 and kept it. I ate eggs like they were paperwork. You know you threaded a needle with a chainsaw, she said. I like big holes, I said. She smiled at last, small. You kept the room honest and the woman human. That's a good night in a building that eats both. You got blue, I said. You owe me dusk. I owe you something, she said. Not sure it's lighting. She reached across the tiny table and put those 2 fingers on my sternum again, softer than should be legal. Still there. Still, I said, and the word did a thing to the space that coffee couldn't fix. We didn't kiss. We stood up, we paid, we walked into a morning that had decided to forgive us without knowing why. That afternoon gaming called to thank me for a clean clip and a clean conscience. The cage memoed new language for charitable weekends. The salon got brighter by 2%. Danny sent me a playing card in an unmarked envelope, Queen of Hearts, corner nicked, a promise or a threat. I shredded it, which is a romantic way to say I did what procedure told me. 2 weeks later, I saw Julia in the lobby, hair up, dress practical, alone. She walked right by my station and didn't look up. Sloane came 10 seconds later, eyes on an iPad and on everything else. As she passed my desk, her hand brushed the marble once, tap, tap, like a tiny metronome for whatever rhythm she and the day had agreed to keep. People ask me if I ever gamble. I tell them I do it all night from a room with no clocks. The truth is I prefer the part where I stop men from turning my cameras into accomplices. The lie is that I don't enjoy the moments when someone, Sloane, Julia, even a man like Rourke, presses their palm flat against the version of me that still believes in noon. Sometimes, on a break, I stand under blue and look up into the lens and let it look back. It doesn't blink. Neither do I. Still there, the building asks when the lights go steady and the floor stops shivering. Still, I tell it and mean. I'm the eye in the sky. I'm the hand that refuses to dim. I'm a man allowed to help a woman choose her sentence without making it a headline. And I'm not done.